G'day crew, welcome to Goat Fantasy, Round 8 Mailbag Edition. Nice to have your company as always on Goat Fantasy, brought to you by checkmyrates.au. Visit the website, it's free to use. Take control of your financial future with Brandon and the team. Hey, this is an edition done from the Saints car park. Nothing better. Busy Thursday in the footy world, but we're just going to squeeze in a mailbag in between press conference and training here at Moorabbin. So let's get underway with the mailbag. Thanks for all the responses. Rolling Lockout asks, is it time for McCluggage? He probably won't drop too much more in cash and has so much value. Been on this for a couple of weeks. Rolling Lockout, I think Hugh's going to be a great buy for us. It's just a question of whether you want to go now or wait, for that the proof that he's returned to full fitness and form, but I think he's certainly trending that way. His time on ground only going through the roof at this point. Superstar player. Hasn't had massive CBAs, but I still think he's classy enough to score well. So I think McCluggage is a safe bet if you're trying to do an upgrade, but do it on the cheap this week. Jack Bennett's Zerha and McKercher roll update. Hope that somehow there is space for both down back. So North are training at the moment, so I'm just going to set that aside for now and try to give you an update a little bit later. So let's just pause on the North Melbourne stuff. Prince Eva is asking about McKercher and his role again. I think, there's a world where regardless you move McKercher on this week, and certainly I'm considering that, but worth just checking in with North. So let's just hold fire on that. Ben is asking, is Jack Viney any realistic chance to play in 2026? He's holding up a spot in my keeper squad. Because it's an Achilles, he's had surgery, it's pretty rough for Jack. I think he still might even be TBC on the injury report. I think holding him is purely a decision about how much space do you have. Do you have enough room to stash and still get through bye rounds and all that sort of stuff? I think, he may well be past his best anyway. It's a tough one for you, Ben. I wish you all the best of luck. Sports by Fry. G'day, Goat. I'm trying to decide which Brisbane gun to commit to. I don't really trust Dunkley. I'm leaning towards Ashcroft, but I'm tempted to save some dollars and go for McCluggage or even Zach Bailey. Yeah, so Bailey, it is a valuable spot in the forward line because of the later bye. And when he gets CBAs, his scoring goes through the roof. I was talking about this with Joe Montagno the other day. The problem is now that the Brisbane midfield sort of seems like it's getting back to full strength, that might limit his opportunities to go through the middle. But if it's part of the contract negotiations, perhaps he's set for more midfield time to make sure he stays at the line. So he's one to monitor. I really like him, and he's still relatively well priced because he had that very low score baked in from a couple of weeks ago. But McCluggage is a tick. Bailey's a tick. Ashcroft can be a bit inconsistent. Dunkley, the scores are down. He's definitely having a down year after a limited pre-season. So maybe it's a leap of faith to go Dunkley at this point. Brenton Eckersley says, Zach Bailey or Sanders to get that last rookie off the field in the forward line? I would go Bailey. Sean, is McKercher training back this week? That's something we need to check on. Zorko, will he get managed? It's a good question. Chris Fagan spoke today, so I think this Zorko one's worth deep diving in a little bit more. But certainly the club are pretty confident that he's ready to go. Bradley David, Jason Horne-Francis, or Zach Bailey. He already has track. I think I would go Horne-Francis because it feels to me like he's got a midfield role, or at least a more locked-in midfield role. Bailey is a burst player through the midfield, whereas at the moment it seems like Josh Carr is loving having Horne-Francis as a full-time permanent midfielder. So I think I'm leaning towards Horne-Francis. Richard House, trade or hold Max Gawn, given Melbourne's dual ruck setup and his increased forward time last game? Is Sherry an option? Sherry definitely is an option. I don't think I could go there after having him for 1 week in Supercoach. But I'm holding on Max Gawn for now. What do you know about Brent Daniels and his body? Obviously, it's a risk. Feels like GWS have taken a bit more care this time to make sure that Brent Daniels' body is good to go, because he's sort of been rushed back at times recently. He's certainly had some soft tissue problems. So there's a risk baked in because of the injury history, but I think he's a really good buy given price and his recent form. Brutal expectations. Butterick back next week. He's listed as 1 to 2, but no mention in the injury report. Yeah, I think that's reasonable to expect to be back next week. It's just sort of got a little bit lost with the Bulldogs, hasn't it, because of the injury carnage. Let's get through the Friday night game against the Dockers, and then we'll ask the question about whether Buddha could be back next week. Henza 360, is McCluggage's TOG actually going to increase? And does James Leake get a decent run of games? Leakey's always been in and out for the Giants. I don't expect that to change. McCluggage TOG should be going up this week. Just taking him a little bit of time to get his body right after that injury, but it's trending in the right direction. Pez, any insight into the role security of Lekalia? I've really loved what I've seen in his first 2 games. Yeah. I think it would be hard to buy into Lek at the moment because of the Briggs risk and that sort of hanging over his head. I think he's a good draft pickup because he'll get that positional change, so back ruck, and he seems to be able to actually accumulate points as a ruckman, even though he's not full-time in that position, which a lot of other part-time ruckmen have shown they can't do that. So I like him as a draft pickup. I think it's brave in any other format. Sam, is Schonberg a chance to come back into the team this week? He's currently a red dot for me on the bench. I think Finn McRae's more likely to come into the team this week. He played well in the waffle, as did Tom Gross. So I reckon he's probably fallen behind a couple. He was a travelling emergency last week, so he'd have to get some good waffle form. Fantasy Fanatic. Grundy's performing well, but I'm worried Pete Laddams could join as a dual ruck after his 40 touch and 47 hit-out game in the VFL. I think this is something that Sydney have sort of played with before. They've juggled it before, but Laddams, even though he was superb in the VFL, they're coming off a 10-day break. So I don't think that they'll need to have Laddams in the team. I think Grundy probably just goes solo. Nick, likelihood of Zorko being managed back in, possibly field Lindsay. Lindsay's an option to field this week because it's against Richmond, but I'd play Zorko if you've held him. You've got to go with him. Bailey, is Toby Green a shout? Great run and good buy. Would get Marshall off field. Yeah, I like him as a buy play. I've liked him all year, but even better as a guy that can play through the buys for you. It's a really good shout, Bailey. I don't reckon we've even talked about it. We've talked about Callahan, we've talked about Daniels, we've talked about Ash, we've talked about Whitfield, and Clary Oliver, but I reckon Toby Green is a good shout. Jared Trainer asking about Buderick as well. Every chance he's back next week. We'll check on that with the Dogs. Dylan Goodall, Goat, hope all is well with yourself and the fam. Thank you. If you see Kirch is training forward, would be smart to jump off. Yeah, it would be. I think more research required today on McKercher, and I'll share that with the Goat family. But yeah, it's getting to that point. It seems like it's a bit of a failed pick, unfortunately. Dino, if it costs Bruin and McAndrew, would you bring in Retchko and Sherry? It gives me Gawn and Jackson and Sherry and Supercoach. I like it. I would do that, mate. Bruin and McAndrew were there to make cash. They were never keepers. So I reckon that's a good move this week. Fantasy Guru, can we launch on human luggage as Lions find it tough to manage both him and Zorko in the same game? Yeah, I think you can go on McCluggage this week. Jacob, hi mate, your opinion on Ned Moyle's chances of stepping in this week or taking over from Jared Witts? Not sure, mate. Witts has always been pretty trusted by whichever coach has been on the Gold Coast. I haven't heard anything about Moyle coming in this week, so let's watch teams tonight. Father-son Nepo selection. Delete my team. Would love a quick 30 seconds on the season-long injuries / TBCs who might come back late for draft finals. So he's got Viney. That's a maybe. Josh Kelly is a maybe. Tom Green is a no. Nick Martin is a no. Hyrax, g'day Goats. Is McKercher's role becoming a pseudo Brian Myers half forward? Yeah, it's interesting. Do we trust him to score better than rookies? No, I don't trust him. I would like to get rid of him. Unless there's any evidence he's going to play half back, but there's just so many mouths to feed back there. With Parker going back there and Zerha, Daniel, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they see him as a midfielder, I think, in the long term, so they're just not messing around with him in half-back quite as much. Fantasy Mogul, McAndrew job security with Crows getting smashed in the middle. He's had a great season, and Rob wasn't great when he came into the side, so I don't have any concerns about McAndrew right now. Mike Knight, Josh Dunkley v Naz. I would go Naz. I still think he's pretty well priced, and he's got a big ceiling. Dunkley maybe in Supercoach. He's pretty cheap. Aidan Collins, hey mate, would you get McCluggage, Newman or Warner/Bailey? McCluggage, Newman, Warner/Bailey. I like Warner or Bailey this week. Alec Johnson, trade options. Witt plus Will Edwards. Horne-Francis plus Cumming. Dale plus Anderson. I would go Horne-Francis and Cumming, mate. Abs, Rochelle, what's the go with his role? He's had a great season, down a couple of weeks. I think we've got to trust him to turn it around, and if not, we flick him at the bye. Robert Gray, would it be worth culling Jagger over Grill or Myers to ensure Cumming as the downgrade? Yes, I think it would be worthwhile. I think Jagger can go if it's going to get you to the right player. Never again. Petrarca or Horne-Francis? I would go Horne-Francis. Oh, actually, doesn't matter with the buy, does it? I was going to say don't go Petrarca's buy. Warner's got the best buy there, but Petrarca or Horne-Francis, I think, has a better ceiling than Warner. I wouldn't go Sparrow. Matt Masker, Zorko back, yes he is. Steve, Isaac Heaney, yep, he's good. Taru, where's Zerha training? We'll find that out today. McCluggage in game management. I think he's going to be fine. There's been some concern about the TOG, which I can tell by all the comments here. But, yeah, he's moving in the right direction. McAndrew management from Ryan Fitzner. I think he's fine. I think they've managed him in-game at times. Toby Murray is in the team as well. So I don't have any stress about McAndrew at the moment. Another question about Colby from Michael. Thank you. I'll get back to you on that. Jack on Zorko. Yes, he's good to go. Neil, please discuss. He's a superstar. Having a great year. That was his one kind of ceiling score, though. So we can't necessarily expect, particularly in AFL fantasy, that he's going to keep producing stuff like that. Hamish, rank Whitfield, Dale and Newman. Yeah, I'll just go Whitfield. He's got the good buy as well. The Can't Archives. Thoughts on the value of Daniels and Filippo? Yeah, I would go Daniels over Filippo. Filippo just got a good score against the Eagles, which is easy. Billy, who to field at D6? Sarong, Farrow or Lindsay? I would go Lindsay this week. All right, that is the mailbag on Goat Fantasy. Apologies, just time management. I've had to cram it all in really quickly. I'm going to get back to you on the North Melbourne stuff with McKercher and Zerha. If you're listening still and you've tuned into the whole episode, really appreciate your support as always on Goat Fantasies. Just stay tuned to the socials this afternoon, and we'll come back with more stuff with teams and North, and then tomorrow we'll chat with Morning from Perth. Catch you soon. Goat Fantasy.